cardiac muscle is able to contract without stimulation from the nervous system. If you recall, when we talked about skeletal muscle, we said that skeletal muscle has to be stimulated by the nervous system in order to contract, but cardiac muscle doesn't have to be. Now, the nervous system can change the heart rate, but it isn't required in order for the heart to contract. We call this autorhythmicity, in which case the heart is able to basically send out its own signal in order to make the heart contract. And it has its kind of own intrinsic pace that it sets. Now, as I mentioned, the nervous system can increase or decrease this intrinsic heart rate, but it's not required in order for the heart to contract. So first of all, let's take a look at some structures that are associated with this intrinsic conduction system. So this is basically the internal nervous system of the heart that helps to send out the signal for the heart to contract. And we mentioned before that the atria contract first, and then the ventricles contract a little bit. After a little bit of a lag time, the ventricles contract. And the slight difference in timing of the contractions helps to keep the blood moving in one direction through the heart, and the timing is controlled by this intrinsic conduction system. So first, let's take a look at something called the sinoatrial node, or the SA node. And the SA node is located in the wall of the right atrium. So you can see it here. And this is called the pacemaker of the heart because it really sets the pace of the intrinsic pace of the heart. So without any external stimulation from the nervous system, the sinoatrial node would be the thing that would start the wave of contraction through the heart, and it would set the basic pace. From the SA node, the signal to contract spreads along the tissue surrounding the atria, and the intercalated discs and the branching cells of the cardiomyocytes help them to communicate so that all the cells of the atrium contract at basically the same time. Now, from the SA node, that signal has to be transferred down into the ventricles so that the ventricles know to contract next. So from the SA node, the electrical signal to contract the heart next travels to the atrioventricular node, which is called the AV node. From the AV node, it goes to the atrioventricular bundle, which is also called the AV bundle or the bundle of His. From the AV bundle, it branches into the left and right bundle branches, which goes down through the interventricular septum. And then each bundle branch makes a kind of a U-turn and goes into the outer walls of the ventricles as well. And in the outer walls of the ventricles, they branch into these kind of smaller structures called Purkinje fibers. And so the electrical signal starts at the sinoatrial node, and then it travels through the AV node to the AV bundle, and then down through the bundle branches, and then into the Purkinje fibers. And so this ensures that the atria contract first, and then the signal gets passed through the ventricles so that they contract second. Now there's a little bit of a delay between the SA node sending out the signal to contract, and the signal happens by depolarization. And there's a slight delay before the AV node gets the signal to contract. And this just ensures that the atria and the ventricles aren't contracting at the same time. So it allows the atrium to contract, and then while the ventricles are contracting, the atrium is relaxing and collecting blood for the next round of muscle contraction. Now, you may be familiar with a test called an EKG, or it's also called an ECG. An EKG is an electrocardiogram, and in English it's called an ECG, but it's often called the EKG because it originated in Germany, and in German, cardiology is spelled with a K. So you kind of hear both terms interchangeably in the United States. An EKG is where they take leads, which include electrodes and cables that they attach to different parts of the skin. And you can see in the image where those cables or those leads are attached. Now, these electrodes are detecting electrical activity of the heart. So basically, as the heart is sending out these electrical signals to contract, these leads can pick up and detect that electrical signal, and then it kind of amplifies it and then produces it on a machine, and it gives us a graph like this. And this graph kind of tells us what's happening with the electrical activity of the heart. So this is basically the EKG of one cardiac cycle. So this is one heartbeat, and it shows you the different events associated with the contraction and the electrical activity that precedes that contraction. So let's take a look at the EKG a little bit more in depth here. So we'll start out with the P wave, which is this little blip right here. And first of all, I should kind of point out the difference between the terms diastole and systole. So systole means a period of contraction. Diastole means a period of relaxation. So atrial systole basically means when the atria are contracting, and atrial diastole means the atria are relaxing. So the P wave is the electrical activity that causes the contraction of the atria. So there's the electrical activity first, and then the atria contract due to the electrical activity stimulating them to contract. The next part of the kind of normal EKG here is the QRS wave, also called the QRS complex. And this is when the ventricles are depolarizing. And after the ventricles depolarize, the ventricles then contract. So we had our stimulus of the atria, and then the atria contracted. And then we had the stimulus of the ventricles, and then the ventricles contracted. Now, at the same time that the ventricles are contracting, the atria are now relaxing. And then the T wave is when the ventricles are repolarizing, which then is followed by ventricular diastole. So once again, if we go back, we've got the P wave that shows us that the electrical activity in the atria is working, and that would be followed by atrial systole, which is also known as contraction. The QRS complex shows us that the depolarization of the ventricles is working properly, and it's followed by ventricular systole. And at the same time that ventricles are contracting, the atria are relaxing. And then the T wave is kind of showing how both the atria and the ventricle are now in diastole, and so they're both at rest. And then, as I mentioned, this is one heartbeat here, so it's the atria contracting and then the ventricles contracting. And in a normal EKG, you would then have another P wave over here. And so as I mentioned, this is a normal EKG here, but the EKG can give doctors clues as to maybe something happening in the heart that is not working properly. So, for example, if the P waves are missing, or if they're not as strong as they should be, or if they're delayed, or they're happening too early, it can mean that there might be something wrong with the SA node, and the atria aren't getting the proper signal to contract. Or if the QRS wave isn't working, or if it's not showing up on the EKG properly, then it could be a signal that there's something wrong with the intrinsic conduction system of the ventricles. And so the ventricles aren't getting the proper signal to contract. And either one of those can be bad, because it means that the blood isn't being pumped through the heart in the direction that it should be.